Welcome to the Alaska Report. I'm Senator Mark Begich. This show is designed to inform you about the issues, programs, and people important to Alaska. In Alaska, summer brings great weather and king salmon. In my Washington, D.C. office, summer brings in an outstanding group of young Alaskans who serve as interns. In this edition of Alaska Report, I'm welcoming the latest group of young Alaskans who serve Alaskans by working in my Washington, D.C. office. Interns get a chance to do a number of things, such as work on legislative ideas and issues, work with the media, and help Alaskans who contact our office navigate the many questions they have about the federal government. With me today are Nick Ostrovsky, Jose DelReal, who are both from Anchorage, Chris Birdsall from Talkeetna, which Chris, I think I met your mother on my last trip, Tabitha Williams from Elfin, Cove, and Anna, I knew this, Anna, you have to help me here. Myrgorod from Unalaska. We have a full house today, and welcome to the Alaska Report, each of you. First off, you are all from Alaska, but many of you are currently attending school here. Tell me a little bit about where you are from in Alaska and what you're studying, and we'll start right up here. Nick?
Yeah. I was born and raised in Anchorage. I grew up on the hillside and went to Stellar, just like you.
We like that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Stellar is the only good school in Alaska. It's just one I graduated from.
Maybe the best. I don't know. Okay. I went to undergrad at the University of Washington in Seattle, and I'm currently in law school at Seattle University in Seattle.
Very good.
Yeah.
Chris?
I grew up in Talkeetna. And
I did meet your mother, is that right?
Yes.
Yes, I did. Okay.
And I graduated from Sioux Valley there, and I did my undergrad at UAF in Fairbanks, got a degree in political science. Then I worked in the legislature for about a year and a half, then came here to D.C. to get my Master of Public Policy at American University.
Very good. Jose?
Hey, and I'm Jose DelReal. I grew up in Anchorage. I graduated from East High School. I'm currently attending Harvard, focusing on political science and history, and I'm just enjoying my summer in D.C. right now.
Great.
So.
Tabitha?
I'm Tabitha Williams. I grew up in Elfin, Cove, Alaska, and went to Juneau for my last 2 years of high school and graduated from the Talkeetna there. Went up to Anchorage and attended the University of Alaska Anchorage for political science and worked for the Senate once I graduated for Senator Ellis, and now I'm here.
And let me ask you, because I know there are some people who are watching from some of the urban areas that will not know what Elfin Cove is, so why don't you say?
Elfin Cove is a small fishing village on the tip of Chichagof Island, about 90 miles east of Juneau.
There we go. Thank you. Anna. And Anna, say your last name again, because I know I do this to you all the time, so.
So the last name is Myrgorod. I was raised in Unalaska, and after graduating high school, I came here to D.C. and got my undergrad degree. I just graduated in May from American University. I studied business administration and international studies, and now I'm taking a year off before grad school to study economics.
Very good. Let me ask you first, Anna, then I'll kind of move around here if that's okay to folks. First off, what got you to think about doing an internship, especially here in Washington where it's 90 degrees and 90% humidity in the summertime?
Yeah, this is my first time being here in the summer. It's different. But, you know, I heard really good experiences of friends who had internships on the Hill, and I really wanted to understand more of the political process and have the firsthand experience on the Hill to get that understanding. So that's why I decided to apply. Very good.
Tabitha, what got you interested in doing an internship?
Well, I did my first internship when I was a senior in high school with Beth Kurtula. Then I did another one when I was a junior in college with Representative Kawasaki. So I knew that it was going to be a great learning experience, and someone had emailed me about it. And so it just seemed like a great way to continue learning about that, but on a national level. So.
Very good. Jose?
So having just finished my second year of college, I'm incredibly homesick, actually. So,
we trapped you here in Washington.
Right. Well, I knew I wanted to do an internship in D.C., and I figured, you know, what better way to combine, you know, home and an internship in D.C. So.
Very good. Chris?
Well, as I said before, I worked in the legislature for a little while, and being in D.C., I really wanted to get a sense of what it was like to work on the federal side of things, and just see how much bigger everything is. And
it's a lot bigger.
Yes, yeah, the scale of everything is so much bigger here. I mean, it's
Yeah.
amazing, you know, all the departments and, you know, even the difference between office in the legislature and here, you know, every task I had working for Representative Guttenberg is someone's sole job here in your office. So
that's right.
really wanted to see what that was like.
Very good. Nick?
Well, being in law school, we learn a lot about interpreting the laws, but we certainly don't learn about how they're made. So I thought this would be a great opportunity just to come and see the process and see how ideas are formed into law.
Right.
So.
Let me ask you, and Nick, you have the mic, so for the viewers, and it kind of jumps a little bit off of what Chris said, tell the viewers kind of what area you work in, and I do want to point out, you made a good point there, Chris, that the way it works in our office, we have a fairly good-sized staff, and they really hone in on the issues rather than having a whole variety pack of things. They try to focus on, okay, if we're covering, you know, energy issues, that's what they do. If they cover health and human services, that's what they do. Kind of tell the viewers what you're working on. I'll ask each one of you and kind of what areas you're working on.
Sure. My interest is mainly in natural resources and oil and gas. And I've done some work with Michael Johnson on some of that. But I've also had the experience to work with a number of other LAs on other issues like Veterans Affairs issues. So it's been great to be exposed to other issues that I wasn't really aware of.
And we just moved a bill in the last week or so out of the Vets Committee, one of our bills that other members were able to join up on, but it's about telehealth, and you got to see, and not only us work it, but the markup, which is the technical term of us sitting there and looking at it and then approving it, but moving it forward and through the process. So you got to participate in that.
Right, yeah.
Very good.
It's been a good experience.
Chris?
So I've lucked out with the issue areas that I'm working on because there's a lot of continuity between what I was doing in the legislature and what I'm doing here in your office. I'm helping out on veterans issues and also telecom issues.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, veterans and broadband were two really big things for Representative Guttenberg.
Yep.
So that's been great. And a good example, when I was working for Representative Guttenberg, we passed a resolution through the legislature urging Congress to improve access to health care for veterans. And here I am in your office helping out with legislation that will do exactly that.
Exactly.
So that's been great.
I mean, the telehealth medicine that we did is to allow veterans to have no copay for their telehealth, because we think that if they can access telehealth throughout rural Alaska, it's going to have a huge impact. And so you both have kind of experienced actually legislation moving, which is not always the case in the Senate. So
Sure.
You have a unique moment in time. Anna, what areas are you working on?
Well, my interest is business and economics as well as international affairs, and so I've been mainly focusing on trade issues and the budget and the deficit. So I've been working closely with
small little issues.
no big deal.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but I've been working with Corey in answering constituents' concerns regarding those issues, and
you're seeing, I mean, the budget, which is a big deal as we speak today, and as this shows for the next month, people will still be engaged in one of the most significant issues that our country probably will face, because as we develop this budget and deal with the debt limit, it will define really who we are as a country and where we're going to put our resources. So it's a very interesting time.
It is, and it's great to be in the middle of it all.
There we go. Tabitha?
I'm working on fisheries issues with your staffer, Bob King, which has been amazing.
He's a master of fish, isn't he? He knows it all.
It's been an amazing experience to work with him and get to see all those years of knowledge and meet with federal agencies and these representatives and see them come together, being from such a remote place and fishing all my life and wondering, how is this decided? Does anyone really care about, and then to see all these people come together, especially our office works with Murkowski's office and Senator Cantwell's office.
That's
so
right.
being able to work with all of them has been very amazing.
And we also have kind of a unique opportunity this year, because now as chair of the Oceans Committee, we manage the areas of fisheries, NOAA, Coast Guard, atmosphere. So we have kind of an elevated opportunity. Not only do we do it in the office as you're experiencing, but we have now a committee staff that works with us on fisheries issues, and one of our big issues that we'll bring up as we move especially toward the fall, is the whole issue of the economics of fisheries and the important economic benefit, not only to our state, but across this country. So you're, again, at a unique time because of the committee chairmanship gives us a chance to do a lot of things around it. And also, we'll be talking more about the Arctic, which Bob manages, and what's going to happen up there or not happen up there with fisheries and the future of the Arctic. So
it's a great time to be in this office.
that's right.
For sure.
Jose, now here's what's so unique. So the first day you get here, or maybe it's a few days after that, one of your tasks, I'm going to jump on you here in a positive way, that one of the tasks is you help put the clips together for the media. Yep. So I get this, and I get them every day, and there was your name, and I'm thinking, now who's sending me clips? Because I had not met you yet. So, but tell the public what you're doing, and it's a important role to keep us informed of what's happening around the state and keep the state informed.
So I'm the press secretary, so I'm working, or not the press secretary, I work with the press secretary.
I'll tell the press secretary, they're out, you're in.
Watch out, Max.
They might like that.
I'm the press intern. I work mostly with the deputy press secretary, kind of compiling all of the different news that comes in from Alaska. Not just the major publications, we look at smaller publications as well. We pull from blogs, and we put it all together basically to keep the office informed on what's going on in Alaska. And it's been a really great way of keeping in touch with everything that's going on back home.
And one of the things that I know are news stories, they're stories that we have about what we're engaged in, but also about Alaska news, so it informs the members of the staff what else is going on that might be out of their area. I mean, so that's part of the task. And like you said, you not only do the mainstream media, you're going into the blog systems as well as trade publications that might be around aviation or whatever, might be publishing stories.
And it's really gratifying. I mean, I get to learn. I don't get as in-depth with a lot of the issues as these guys do, but I get to jump around a lot more, so I get a lot of stuff. So
you get kind of the generalist view of what's happening, which is pretty powerful. Let me say, we got about a minute or so here before we take a break, and when we get back, we're going to have some fun here. You guys get to ask me questions, but first, I hope the viewers see what we have here, some incredible quality interns. We not only have them here in Washington, we have them in Juneau, Anchorage, and Fairbanks, all working together to try to help us do better constituent service for the folks back home. And I know all of you, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, but I think all of you have to serve also on the front desk. Is that right? Now that is the battleground, all right? That's when the calls come in, may they be positive or negative, and you have to manage them and then make sure they get to the right person. So as those viewers are watching us here, when you're calling our office, these are some of the faces behind the voices. And they are really, they handle those calls. I walk through there, I listen to them. Sometimes they don't know I'm listening on the other side of the door there, but I'm watching them and listening, and I get good reports. So thank you for battling that. We're going to take a short break here. When we come back, we'll continue talking with this great group of young Alaskans who are spending the summer in Washington, D.C. as our interns. We'll be right back, and they'll have a chance to ask me some questions. I don't know what they are, but we'll find out.
I wasn't going to school because I was making money stealing cars. Well, I was 10 when I first got involved with drugs. I skipped school because, you know, nobody cared.
When I first got pregnant, school was not important to me, so I dropped out.
Well, if I don't finish school, then I can't go to college. I mean, that's the whole point of what I want to do with my life.
I still need to go to school to make it for myself.
I think I'm happier now. I know I'm happier now.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared. Sometimes my parents have to take me to the hospital. I feel like a fish with no water.
You know how to react to their asthma attacks. Here's how to prevent them. Call 1-866-NO-ATTACKS. Visit www.noattacks.org or call your doctor. Because even one attack is one too many.
Welcome back to Alaska Report. I'm Senator Mark Begich. Today I'm talking to 5 young Alaskans who spend the summer working in my Washington office. Welcome back, Nick, Chris, Jose, Tabitha, and Anna. Thanks for being here, and thanks for answering those questions. Now, I'm a little nervous because you guys have questions, and I'm sure you've been pondering and working together to figure out how to ask these, but Tabitha gets the first shot.
Okay. My question is, with the Coastal and Marine Spatial Planning Initiative likely to go through this coming soon, and the Alaska Coastal Management Program sunsetting, how vulnerable do you think our state sovereignty is, and what effects do you see having on our local fishing communities, and what recourse or damage control do we have, if any?
Well, that's an interesting, we're combining both those issues. First is I call it ocean zoning. I know NOAA folks get very upset when I say spatial planning is ocean zoning, but Alaskan fishermen are very concerned about this. We are very concerned about this because we have a really good process that's been in place for years, the North Pacific Fisheries Council. Sometimes people like their decision, but overall we've been able to do a great sustainable fisheries because of that. The most sustainable in the whole country when you think about it. Almost 60% of all the wild stock or live catch of fish in this country comes from Alaska. So the spatial planning that the government wants to do, there's a lot of pushback from our office as well as the fishing community. We think this has and could have a negative impact because the stakeholders are not part of the equation. The other piece, which is another one, which is the coastal zone management. This is a big problem because the state was unwilling to reauthorize it to continue the program. This was an opportunity for us, which is amazing when you think about it, for us to have say over what goes on in federal waters, which is powerful. And when you think about it, we argue all the time as Alaskans, we want more say of what the federal government does to our state, maybe onshore or offshore. So by not reauthorizing that legislation and moving it forward, we lost some rights and ability to ensure that Alaska has a say in federal waters. The second piece of this, which is very critical, we have lost or have put at risk, I should say, the oil and gas potential in the Arctic. Because the way the law works is if we want a deep water port, which we will need for oil and gas exploration, development, and oil spill protection, we're going to need a deep water port. And it's going to have to be developed in federal waters because that's the deepest area, because too close to the shore, it's too shallow. So a deep water port in federal waters, if you build one and it deals with oil and gas issues, by law, you must have a coastal zone management plan. If you don't have one, you can't do a deep water port. So now we've put that whole development at risk. We're going to work aggressively as the delegation to make sure that we continue to move forward on the developments of Beaufort and Chukchi and in the Arctic, because we think those are important long-term developments. But it has put us at great risk. And I say the legislature worked hard. I think the governor did not show enough leadership in stepping up to the plate as he could have. And now I think we're at a little risk. But it's an interesting way you've couched that, because here's the federal government who wants to do more regulation on our waters, which we're opposed to, and here's a chance where we could have more say, and we eliminated our ability to do that. So it does put us at risk. So it's a very good question.
Thank you.
Anna?
Well, my hometown, Unalaska, has some of the highest energy costs, not only in the state, but also in the country. And so I was wondering, what are some ideas that you have or plans that you have in using renewable resources to maybe help rural Alaskan communities to cut down those costs?
Yeah, it's a good question again on energy. First off, the country has no real energy plan. That's the first problem. And if you look at some of the latest comments that we've seen in South Central Alaska, where we're running out of gas and now they're going to import it from foreign countries in order to supply through liquefied natural gas, which is a huge mistake. So we have a great challenge in this country to have a real energy plan. But specifically about renewable energy, I think in a lot of ways Alaska is and can be at the forefront of developing every type of renewable and alternative energy source there is because of the uniqueness of Alaska. Wind energy is a big part, especially in Western Alaska and some of the chain. Part of the problem is the winds are a little too strong. They get in the 5 category and we can't utilize wind in some cases. But we have some great projects, especially in Western Alaska, that are being developed and reducing energy costs by utilizing wind. SERI is now developing another small project. It's about 13 windmills, I think, off of Fire Island, right outside of Anchorage. We have great potential in Southeast with hydro, really incredible potential. We have geothermal that's being developed and tested now. All these are great opportunities for us, and there's partnerships that we have from the state's perspective, in the sense of the state of Alaska, with the Department of Energy and some of the recovery money, the stimulus money that we put out the last 2 years that are actually producing some great projects. But they're not going to happen overnight. They're going to take some time. The other one, which would be very exciting, if we can figure out, and there's some test projects going on right now, if we could tap into tidal power in this country. 95% of the tidal power of this country is in Alaska because of our tides that move so rapidly and frequently. So we have a chance, if we can capture that in some way, to benefit some of our communities. So I think a lot of those are in motion. A lot of the work we're doing in our office is to figure out how to help communities become more self-sustainable with these energy resources. But there's no simple answer, and it won't happen overnight. But it's exciting. Every village I go to or community, there is some project they're working on that is alternative energy, renewable energy, and it's because of the high cost. And there's no other state like this. I mean, you know, when people were complaining about $4 a gallon, we had seen, especially in rural Alaska, we had seen that years ago, and it's double that in most cases. So that's some of the things I think we're working on, and that can have a long-term impact.
Thank you.
Chris?
So my question is a good tie-in to this. It's broader. Something that we all have to deal with, and any Alaskan traveling outside has to deal with, is explaining what it's like to live in Alaska. You know, we don't live in igloos. We don't have pet polar bears.
Right. It's not snow all year round.
Exactly. But you know, there are real important differences. And I know an important part of your job is explaining those differences to your colleagues, cabinet secretaries, you know, people that write policies that will affect Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be curious to hear how you've been able to work Alaska into these broader debates, and if you feel we've made any headway.
I think we have made headway. It is, the challenge is you have new cabinet members coming in a cycle. Last year we had 100 new House members come in, 1/4 of the House new people. The Senate since 2005 is half of the members are new. So you're on a constant kind of education. And because I'm fortunate to sit on several committees, budget, veterans, armed services, homeland security, and commerce, they touch so many different things. So what we have to do, and the staff does a great job of this, you guys do a great job in helping make sure when we're talking about an issue, I don't care if it's broadband, telecom issues, veterans issues, fisheries, budget issues, we always make sure we talk the Alaska component in there. And part of it is, obviously, we're advocating for Alaska, but it's also to educate people on what we're doing and what it's about. I had a call recently with a department person about how we do construction seasons in rural Alaska. You know, you can't just cancel a project in the middle of the summer because some of that product has already been purchased a year ahead because of the way the barges work and the seasonal construction season and how it works. So it's a constant effort. And part of it also is bringing people up. You know, we brought over, I think 7 now, maybe 8 cabinet secretaries to Alaska, and we take them to an urban area, we take them to a hub, and then we take them to a village. We make sure they see all 3 components of Alaska. When you do that, along with cabinet secretaries, staff, and others, it really does open their eyes. And so that's our effort. We got to just keep on doing it. And a lot of it is when you guys are talking to your colleagues and your people you meet that are interns or other staff, part of it is your ambassadors talking about what Alaska's about. But it's a constant, I'll just tell you that. It's never ending.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nick?
Well, my question piggybacks on Anna's question too. Since I've been here, the USGS released a report indicating that there may be 10 times the natural gas and oil in the Cook Inlet. Yet major Alaskan cities are facing importing liquid natural gas for energy. So what can we do to make sure that Alaskans are producing this energy for use in Alaska?
Yeah, this is, when I was mayor of Anchorage, we did a significant project of bringing Kenai and the Mat-Su together with Anchorage to try to look at energy in the broad sense. What do we need to do for South Central? One of the big projects we did is we took one of our gas turbines and upgraded it. And people say, well, that's, you know, big deal. Well, it saved 30% on our gas utilization for the same amount of output. In other words, the quality and the quantity we needed. But it saved the amount that was going into there. But the most important thing we can do is get rigs in the Cook Inlet developing. We've been working with Tabitha to get them up there. That's been a struggle. We know, and we have known this, that there's a lot of gas in the Cook Inlet. And what USGS just told us, the United States Geological Survey told us, is it's 10 times what was originally estimated. And they take usually a very conservative position, so it's probably a lot more. They were about half wrong on Prudhoe, so my guess is they're probably half wrong here. But the good news is we have a lot of gas there. That helped the development community say, okay. So we're seeing some movement, and if we can get those jack-up rigs, those rigs working there, I think we can produce some gas right out of there. Long term, we're probably, we got to get gas off the North Slope also, but we do have gas right there in the Cook Inlet, and we're working aggressively with a private company to get them into the field and start producing. Okay, Jose, you get the last and most important question. I don't know what it is, but.
So my question is concerning education policy, specifically as we start looking towards reforming ESEA and No Child Left Behind as it's known currently. I think Alaska can kind of be seen as a showground that really displays the contrast between rural environments and urban environments, especially if you look at the Anchorage School District compared to smaller school districts like the Craig City School District. Do you personally think that it's good to have a big national policy that's kind of like mandating things for smaller school districts, or really where do you think that reform should be coming from?
Well, first off, I campaigned, and I still believe, No Child Left Behind was a bad piece of legislation. It impacted smaller communities, rural communities in a negative way. Basically, even though you improved, but not maybe up to this national standard, but you improved, you got penalized. And really what we should be doing is looking at schools in their unique situations and rewarding them as they move forward and improving. We're hopeful that this legislation has clear understanding what rural communities are about. But this is back, to Chris's question, part of it is educating people about what rural Alaska is about. And when we say that the federal government wants to have some standards, I don't necessarily disagree with that, but when they start mandating how you implement those standards, then we have a problem. Because I think what is good for Craig, or what's good for Kwethluk, or what's good for Fairbanks, what's good for Anchorage is all going to be different. Because there's local conditions that we have to understand and recognize. And that's how this kind of legislation should be put together and recognize the local community's needs. Because the more you bring it from Washington down, the less, in my personal view, the impact on education, or the positive impact, is going to lessen. Meaning that people say, well, it's just another mandate, we just, why should I be involved? They didn't ask me. The better approach is growing your education system from the ground up, creating some broader sweeps of ideas of what it should be, but allowing local input, local impact, students, parents, and the teachers being part of the solution. It goes by quick, doesn't it? And you guys did a great job. First, thank you very much for being our interns in our office. Thanks for representing Alaska and doing what you do every day, answering those phone calls, following up on issues. This concludes our Alaska report. I want to thank everyone for listening to us today, and again, thank Nick and Jose and Chris and Tabitha and Anna for being part of this show. We have great young people from Alaska working to represent you here in Washington. Thank you all, and look forward to seeing you on the next Alaska Report.